Everyone who has watched The Grudge knows that Kayako is extremely dangerous, but what most people do not know is who actually created Kayako. This story shows the beginning of the end of The Grudge and will reveal all the answers. The story starts with a shocking child abuse case during an epidemic. When the police and childcare workers reached the house, they found the place completely destroyed. A strong and terrible smell filled the air, but the house owner was missing. Inside a closet on the second floor, the police found Toshio, who had died from hunger because he had been dead for a long time. His body had already started to rot and melt. Yamamoto, who was part of the investigation, was so scared by the scene that he collapsed on the floor. When he tried to crawl out of the room, Toshio suddenly stood behind him in a strange way. In the end, Yamamoto used his camera to record Toshio's powerful curse. After the tragedy at the Saeki house, the place became known as a haunted house. A few years later, a real estate company took control of the house. Aoi, whose brother-in-law was in charge of the company, secretly opened the door of the haunted house. She entered the house with her female friends. Surprisingly, the house was clean and neat, as if no one had ever died there. This disappointed the girls. But Nana suddenly heard someone humming a strange song inside the room. At the same time, Misa found 3 drawings in the corner. They were drawn with crayons and showed strange symbols. It was clear that the drawings showed different ways of dying, but each girl picked up one drawing and laughed at the childish art style without understanding its meaning. Following the sound, Nana went upstairs and entered the room where Toshio had died. Soon, the light above her head began to flicker uncontrollably. Nana stepped back in fear and suddenly noticed a pool of black liquid on the floor. The closet door nearby started shaking violently. Terrified, Nana tried to run away, but the door suddenly slammed shut. At that moment, an unknown liquid began flowing out of the closet. When Nana suddenly turned back, she slipped and fell. Seeing this, the other 3 girls laughed at her without hiding it. At that moment, none of them realized that the curse had already silently attached itself to them. The first one to suffer was Yayoi. During a sports class, she noticed the curtain behind her move slightly. Curious, she went behind it to check, but the backstage area was completely empty. As she was about to leave, the piano behind her suddenly started playing by itself. She thought she imagined it, but the next moment, a cold touch made her feel seriously unwell. Shivering, Yayoi ran to the school medical room and hid under a blanket on the bed. Inside the blanket, she found a piece of paper. It was the same drawing she had seen earlier. The drawing showed a person lying on a bed with half of the body missing. Before Yayoi could understand what it meant, the curse came true. Soon after, Yayoi disappeared from the school without leaving any trace. Not long later, Reina also took sick leave. Out of worry, Aoi and Nanami decided to visit Rina at her house, but they were shocked to find that Rina had locked herself tightly inside her room. After great effort, they finally opened the door. Inside, the room was completely dark. Every small gap and crack was sealed with tape. Rina was trembling in fear, hiding under a table. The moment she saw Aoi, Rina suddenly became very emotional and excited. Her words immediately reminded Nanami of the strange boy she had met earlier. Before she could calm down, Nanami suddenly saw a pale white hand reaching out from a drawer. The atmosphere became so creepy that Nanami could not stay there any longer. She urged Aoi to leave immediately. Just as the 2 girls were about to stand up, Rina suddenly rushed toward them. Ignoring her, Aoi and Nanami ran away like the wind. Rina, who was left alone in the room, completely lost her mental balance. After crying and screaming for a long time, she thought she should drink something to regain strength. But when she opened the milk carton, a thick black liquid poured out instead. Terrified, Rina threw the carton onto the floor. As the dark liquid spread, she clearly saw a small ghost crawling on her back. Her body froze in fear. At that very moment, the kettle exploded. Boiling water splashed everywhere, badly burning her skin. Her painful screams attracted the cursed spirit. Soon, a pair of pale, ghostly hands landed on her shoulders. In this way, Rina's body ended up hidden inside the refrigerator. At the same time, Aoi was washing dishes with her sister. Seeing Aoi distracted, her sister jokingly asked if she was thinking about a man, but Aoi nervously asked whether the haunted house really had ghosts. Her sister and brother-in-law refused to tell her the truth. Only then did Aoi realize that the situation was far more serious than she had thought. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, she began to cry in regret over her past foolish actions. She blamed herself, thinking that if she had not opened the door of that haunted house, her friends would still be alive and happy. But while crying, tragedy struck her as well. A ghostly hand slowly reached under the girl's chin. If she had been given one chance to regret, she would never have entered that haunted house and would never have touched that strange drawing. But everything was already too late. Hearing a scream, her sister pushed open the bathroom door. Aoi was gone. Blood stains covered the sink, and only a detached jaw was left on the floor. Terrified, the sister collapsed to the ground, muttering again and again, "Where did Aoi go?" Meanwhile, Chihai, who had just left Rina's house, was riding a shaking subway train. She had no idea that her 3 close friends had already fallen victim to the curse. As anxiety filled her heart, she turned her head and suddenly saw 2 familiar figures. She quickly moved closer to her group, and just as people often say, the curse never spares anyone. They say, sometimes it is better not to meet at all. Rina and Aoi saw something terrifying. One figure had no face skin, and the other had no jaw. Seeing this, Saeki got so scared that her legs gave up, and she fell down instantly. She crawled close to people's legs, and moved only a few steps forward, but suddenly she saw Misao again, right in front of her. In a blink of an eye, Saeki found herself on the stairs of the haunted house. She felt like she was trapped in a nightmare, but she could not tell whether she was dreaming or awake. While going downstairs, she slipped without noticing. The floor was covered with sticky black liquid. Before she could understand what it was, a mysterious force dragged her into a room. A young girl was treated like a cleaning cloth and thrown around. Saeki cried in pain and begged again and again, but the curse never spares anyone, even those who have nothing to do with it. Just as Saeki disappeared, Aoi's sister entered the house with new tenants. The person was the famous Kayako, but at that time, she was still alive. Kayako was very satisfied with the cheap and spacious haunted house. Without any delay, she told her husband Takeo to pay the money and sign the contract. Kayako and her husband soon moved into their dream house. They never imagined that after a few years, their story would connect with an elementary school teacher. Near the haunted house, there was an elementary school. A trainee teacher named Nagano Ichiro was suddenly promoted to class teacher. He was extremely happy. As soon as he walked out of the school building, he noticed a strange spiral shape on the playground. At first, he ignored it. But on his very first day as a class teacher, he faced a problem student. A boy named Toshio had not come to school for 7 days. Ichiro called Toshio's house, but no one answered. He checked the work records and found that even the previous class teacher could not contact Toshio's parents. With no other option, Ichiro reported the matter to the school principal, but the principal kept avoiding the topic, as if hiding something. After school, Ichiro noticed something shocking. There was the same spiral shape carved on Toshio's desk. This gave him a very bad feeling. He quickly went home, changed his clothes, and walked slowly to Toshio's house for a home visit. As soon as he entered the house and looked up, he saw an arm hanging out of the attic window. The person upstairs clearly did not welcome him. Still, Ichiro rang the doorbell. He rang the bell, knocked on the door, and called out, but there was no response. When he pulled the handle, the door was already open. He carefully stepped inside and came face to face with a gloomy-looking Kayako. After greeting her, Ichiro asked where Toshio had gone. After hearing this answer, Ichi did not know whether he should leave or stay. But in just a moment, Kayako suddenly disappeared into thin air. Ichi had no choice but to close the door. Out of politeness, he thought he should at least say goodbye before leaving. But as soon as he took off his shoes, he heard a strange and creepy humming sound. Following the sound, he walked up to the 2nd floor. There he saw a room whose door was tightly sealed with tape. When he listened carefully, he realized there was movement inside. He became worried that Toshio might be locked inside and being abused. Without thinking twice, he opened the door. But just as he was about to open the closet, he was led into the living room instead. The teacup placed for the guest clearly showed no sincerity. Ichi could not understand what Kayako was trying to do. He leaned around the divider to take a look, but suddenly he forgot about drinking tea and ran straight out of the house. The next day, Ichi met the school principal again. The principal still did not want to get involved. However, he told Ichi that Toshio's previous teacher had died 2 days ago. Ichi checked the work records once more. He discovered that the previous teacher had also visited the house, yet he too had never seen Toshio or his father. The strange thing was that in the previous teacher's work journal, Ichi also saw the same spiral circles. That evening, when Ichi's boyfriend returned home, he saw that Ichi had not turned on the lights and had not cooked any food. He was staring at the strange circles like someone who had lost his mind. The boyfriend guessed that Ichi was stressed because of work. He picked up a photo and asked who that problem student was. But the next day in class, Ichi was shocked to see Toshio, who had not come to school for more than 10 days. Ichi felt very relieved, but his happiness lasted less than 3 seconds. He noticed that Toshio was only making scratching sounds while carving circles into the desk. Ichi rushed forward to stop him, but it was impossible to imagine that this small boy, endlessly carving circles, was actually the most hidden and dangerous spirit of the curse. Someone who could kill without blinking would never care about a teacher scolding. Suddenly, Toshio disappeared again. The students stared at the teacher, who seemed to be talking to himself, their mouths wide open in shock, because in the eyes of the children, that desk had always been empty. After seeing Toshio in the classroom, Ichi's behavior became more and more strange. While checking homework, he would unknowingly start drawing circles. When he finally came back to his senses, he suddenly saw a black shadow pass through the hallway. Ichi followed it all the way to the classroom. There, he found a diary on a desk. The diary recorded the life of Kayako. Ichi became completely absorbed in reading it, not realizing that a ghostly figure was standing right behind him. When Ichi's boyfriend returned home, one of them suddenly looked lost and absent-minded. He started drawing circles on the glass. As his hand kept moving, his expression became more and more excited. One of them shouted at him to stop, but unexpectedly, he suddenly collapsed and fainted. Seeing this, one of them quickly put him on the bed, but while unconscious, he kept calling another person's name. At that moment, the investigator finally realized something was wrong, because strange things were also happening to him. The investigator knew that what was happening was definitely not some simple coincidence, but he had to find out the full truth behind everything. Otherwise, one of them would sink even deeper into danger. Then, he found a diary inside her bag. Inside the diary, it was revealed that Kayako was obsessed with having a child. When praying to the gods failed, she turned her attention to dark forces. That is when Toshio was born. As a result of this obsession, it is hard to say who used whom, Toshio or Kayako. After 10 months, Kayako finally gave birth to Saeki Toshio. Her extreme obsession and strange method of having a child made the investigator feel deeply disturbed. But even then, he forced himself to continue the investigation. Later, the investigator found the address of the Saeki family. Seeing the door open, he walked straight inside. However, he found nothing useful there. After that, he went to a real estate office, where Aoe's brother-in-law received him. At first, he tried to hide the truth about the haunted house, but when he learned that the investigator's girlfriend had also become a victim, he finally revealed the truth. He said that 9 years ago, his wife and his sister-in-law had also died because of this same haunted house. He also revealed another shocking truth. In the summer of 19 years ago, a child's body was abandoned inside that house. Now the investigator began to understand everything. He rushed to the library to search old records and found news about a child abuse case from 19 years ago. After comparing the details, he discovered that Toshio Yamamura was actually Toshio Saeki. Once again, the investigator fell into deep thought. To some extent, Toshio controlled everything inside the haunted house, but the investigator could not understand why Toshio was so determined to take revenge on others. However, whether there was an answer or not, it was already too late. After the investigator died, Kei woke up and saw the remaining image of her boyfriend. She gasped in fear. Later, she once again went to Toshio's house. She entered the attic and broke open the closet wall. But inside the closet, there was nothing terrifying. There were only a few photo albums and some videotapes which recorded everything about Toshio's life. After being abused to death for the first time, Toshio was reborn as Kayako's son. He believed that he would finally live a happy life, but in the end, it all turned out to be an illusion. Takeo Seki slowly realized that Toshio was growing up to look less and less like him, and this child never wanted to stay close to him. He slowly started to doubt that his wife was having an affair. The birth of Toshio was already something that could not be explained. Under extreme mental pressure, Kayako finally gave up caring about anything. This provoked Takeo even more. In a fit of rage, he snapped Kayako's neck. After that, he stuffed Kayako's beloved black cat into the microwave. Takeo did not want to leave anyone alive. He even picked up a knife and killed Toshio, who had just turned 10 years old. Toshio lived as a human twice, but both times he could not survive beyond 10 years of age, so he placed his last hope on Chihiro. Just when Kayako was using all her strength to kill Chihiro, Toshio stepped forward and tried to save him. But Chihiro did not want such a strange and creepy child as his son. Toshio immediately became angry. He let out a sharp scream. Chihiro suddenly woke up again. He thought he had escaped death, but he celebrated too early. Toshio planned to destroy him using the person he loved the most. This is where the story comes to an end. Ju-On is a movie that becomes more frightening the more you think about it. The most shocking part is that the small ghost Toshio, who seemed like a side character throughout the film, was actually more ancient and dangerous than Kayako herself. See you in the next story.